Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials.
Good morning, it's 7:30 on Sunday the 17th of October. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land. It's a wet morning this morning. It's been raining overnight, on and off, but it's this very fine, misty, drizzly kind of rain that tends to get right inside you and make you more wetter, if that makes sense, than the heavy rain. Looking at the sky, it's very, very grey, so I suspect this is going to be in for most of the day. So I've not got much I want to do outside anyway today. But on a positive note, it will fill up those 1,000-litre tanks finally. I'll probably be complaining too much about not having enough tanks as we go through winter. You could always have more. Anyway, let me get myself inside, opened up, get the kettle on, and we'll have a little chat. Well, as usual, first things first, sort the chickens out. They do like that corn, and they especially like those little black sunflower seeds. I did actually buy a completely separate bag of sunflower seeds yesterday, just to mix into the big bag of mixed corn and give them that little extra bit of sunflower seed happiness. A little red one, as usual, is hanging around my feet. She gets a special hand fed. Just busy looking at me thinking, what's he doing with that camera? Anyway, let me get myself in the coop. I'm only expecting a few eggs in there this morning. I did have a clear out yesterday, so there won't be many. One thing I am going to have to do in here today is have a good clear out. Some light on the go. Yeah, we've only got 3 in there. Nothing. Oh, look at the mess in there, you scruffy birds. Yeah, only 3. But we've got today's production to go. Right, let me get in the cabin and we'll have a little chat. Well, good morning. It's Sunday already. The days really do just fly by. Well, the weekends do anyway. It's because you're not at work. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you are staying safe and well and enjoying your weekend. What have you been up to at the weekend? Do let me know in the comments section. And thank you to those that have already commented on yesterday's video. It is hard to gauge sometimes when you're sat reflecting in the cabin chat as to how the message will be received. I do get from time to time the odd comment about the doom and gloom and the fear porn, which it isn't, or it certainly isn't intended to be anyway. It's intended to be just a reflection on what I see going on, and although I don't have a little crystal ball, where I think might be heading down the road to greet us at some point in the future. So thank you for those that have commented and have made some very nice, kind remarks about how useful they find it, or found yesterday's cabin chat. So following on from that theme of change yesterday, things are definitely changing, and I've got a lot of change coming up. So there will be a little change in format, and there'll be more of these kind of reduced length videos, which are more focused on the cabin chat rather than planting seeds and digging up buckets of carrots and potatoes. So hopefully it'll still be of interest to you. My neighbour's geese kicking off. I can I can actually see some headlights of a vehicle way in the distance over the fields. So I'm guessing that's one of the neighbours coming to tend to the horses. Because one thing about having land and animals is it does need looking after. You do have to be here a while. And that kind of segues nicely into today's conversation, which was prompted by a recent comment on a video. That's the morning egg production just starting. I don't know if you'll pick that up on the camera or not. I'm guessing you probably can. Chickens have started egg laying. Yeah, there was a comment by Arwen the Bard, if I remember rightly. And it was a comment about mutual aid groups, support groups, finding like-minded people and trying to form some kind of network for support if we go into more difficult times or proper something hit the fan type scenarios. So I thought I'd just spend 5 minutes or so this morning on that theme. I have mentioned it in a video. It's a long time ago now. I did mean to have a little dig through the videos, but I got distracted, as often happens, so I didn't get a chance to try and find where I'd spoken about it before. It's not something that I talk a great deal about, but I do kind of allude to it in many of the videos that I put out, particularly when I've been doing construction type things with the cabin or the garden room. It's great finding your little piece of land, or if you're fortunate enough to be able to find a house or some property with a piece of land attached to it. And you kind of think that's it, it's game over, I've found my little piece of the countryside, away from the madding crowd, and I can just get cracked on and everything will be fine. It isn't always fine. There are challenges along the way in terms of what you're able to do with your little piece of land. And that will be a big theme over the coming weeks, with that mystery thing that's going on in the background. But once you're there and you're established and you're creating your self-sufficiency garden, or you're expanding on your accommodation on the land, or whatever it is you happen to be doing, you'll very quickly find that if it's just you, it does become extremely difficult to get things done. And as I've gone through my little journey on the land so far, the amount of times that I've said there's never enough time, everything takes more time than you think it will, because you only have the one pair of hands. It's far better if you have a family group with you, or another group of some description with you, to help share out all of the different tasks that you need to do. Construction of any kind takes forever. It's extremely time consuming and labour intensive. You can only try to make wooden framings for buildings or dig out raised beds for so long before you just physically become worn out. So everything does take a lot longer and is more labour intensive than you might imagine it to be. Let's take another good example of cutting wood for fuel. You might have in your mind the image of, well, I'll just get a chainsaw and I'll just go chop, 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 and magically it's done. It isn't. Chopping wood is a very laborious, time-consuming, energy-intense activity. So there are lots of things connected with your garden, your homestead, anything to do with self-sufficiency that is very, very time-consuming. And if there's only one of you, it becomes almost overwhelming and you can very quickly lose heart and give up. But really, I think the comment was directed at what happens if it all goes crazy out there. And it is a really important thing to think about. The normal living in the day-to-day world, if I can use an analogy, if you're coming back from the pub one night and walking down the street, if you're alone, you're constantly on that little bit of an alert, defensive feeling as you see other people approaching. That little element of fear kicks in because you don't know what the intentions of the people are. And that translates across very nicely to living in your own self-sufficiency, or even just your normal home in times when it's chaotic and perhaps rule of law isn't as good as it should be, or perhaps there's just been a complete breakdown and it's every man for themselves. People are your biggest danger in any kind of something hit the fan scenario. And if you're on your own personal security and the security of your property, homestead, land, whatever it is in jeopardy. So if you're thinking about long-term prepping and survival, if something does hit the fan, you really do need to think about how you're going to be able to take care of your little piece of land, your little home or homestead. So that's where this group or mutual assistance group or mutual support group idea comes in. The idea is that if something does dramatically go wrong, that you have a small group of self-minded people who will come together to provide mutual support. In an ideal world, you would have your own family group living on your piece of land, your homestead, or in your everyday home. And those would be able to share out the chores, the tasks that you need to do on a day-to-day basis so that you can complete everything. You're not constantly putting off things until tomorrow or running out of time to achieve a task. They're also there as well to provide an element of security. I've said in a few different videos over the years, it's great being in your homestead or in your home or on your piece of land and feeling nice and secure, and you're kind of ahead of the game if it's chaos around you, because you've got your place to go to where everything is there for you. You've got your off-grid utilities, you've got your food supply, you've got your animals, you've got your shelter. But you should bear in mind that if we are talking about grid down chaos, people who don't have those things are definitely going to come looking for those things, and they're not going to think twice about taking from other people. So one of the biggest things about having some kind of support group around you is that element of security. At some point, if you're on your own, you're going to be sleeping. You're going to be off, away from the home, the homestead, the land, doing something that you need to do, whether that's collecting water, foraging for food, looking for supplies that you don't have. You can't be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, taking care of the actual property, home, land, whatever it is. So it is worthwhile just having a little bit of a think about, if it all went wrong, who can you count on for support? Do you have a family group? So parents, children, extended family, perhaps grandparents, brothers, sisters, or very, very close friends. Would you be able to function as a group and get through that crisis, supporting each other? Whether that's, some examples might be that if you have an ideal off-grid homestead type environment, whereas other family members live in apartments in a city, then maybe they'll come to you to ride out the storm. Perhaps you might want to think about the various skill set within the group. Is there anything that you don't actually have? Are you able to grow your own food? Do you have those skills? Are you able to take care of security? Do you have the tools that you might need to protect yourself and your group? And if not, who does? Who do you know that has those skills? Maybe you don't have first aid, medical skills, but a brother, a sister, or some other relative or very, very close friend might have those skills. They might be a nurse, a doctor, a dentist. So it is worth considering, if it all went horribly wrong, and God forbid it doesn't get to this stage where it is complete carnage and violence on the streets, but there is a potential for it, for sure. You only have to look at natural events like in America, in New Orleans, when the city was devastated by a natural crisis event. Rule of law went out the window within days, and people were violent and shooting on the streets. So it is perfectly possible. It doesn't have to be some kind of World War III zombie apocalypse type disaster for your own personal security to suddenly be at risk. So for me, personally, I am on my own, and you'll know that from looking at my videos. However, I do have a little support group of family. You'll have seen from time to time when I've been really struggling, you'll have seen one or more of my sons coming in to give a little bit of muscle power that I lack, particularly with the construction. So I do have a small support network that if it all did get to the total carnage on the streets, they don't live in a rural area, and they don't have sufficient space around them to be able to raise a self-sufficiency garden. So I'm under no illusion as to where they would be going if we got to that stage. And it's something that you might want to consider yourself. Who is within your group that you would trust enough for support if things did get really chaotic? What skills do they have that you might be able to use? And if you don't have that little tight-knit group, then perhaps it is worthwhile just exploring in your normal social circle to see who else is of a like mind. It's surprising. Don't go full-on prepper mode when you start raising topics for conversation, but it's worth just feeling people out very, very gently, very, very casually as to what their thoughts are about how chaotic might it be in the future. Do they know anything about prepping? Are they doing anything about prepping? Be cautious. Don't just, as I say, go in full prepper mode and start demanding how much stuff have you got in your pantry, because you might scare them off. And similarly, don't give too much away yourself, he says, talking to camera, about what you might have. But yeah, have those little exploratory conversations and just feel people out. Get to know what skills they might have. Do they have tools that might be useful for security in a something hit the fan scenario? People who do have those tools generally don't broadcast the fact very widely, and you might be surprised. Your neighbour or some family member that you don't really speak to very often, you might find that they have some really valuable skills. You might find that they do have some tools that you could use, and they might even be thinking along similar lines themselves. They too might have looked around and thought, things are getting a bit tricky. Who can I turn to for a bit of mutual support? Outside of the total grid down chaos scenario, it's also worth just building up a network of people, even if it's just casual. for a bit of support in terms of knowledge or intelligence gathering. By intelligence I mean news, what's going on in the world. I kind of do that with the channel. I do ask for people to comment. What do they think's happening? What are they up to? What are they doing? What do they think about what I'm doing? Am I doing it the right way? Is there a better way? I'm kind of reaching out to everybody and doing that little bit of intelligence gathering or skill set and knowledge gathering, because it's surprising how many people there are out there in the YouTube world or further afield that do have something valuable to share with you, and most of the time they are quite happy to share that knowledge, skill, information with you. So as we go into these difficult times, which are absolutely coming, do take the time to have a little bit of a broaden of your horizons and see who else is out there that knows stuff, sees stuff, does stuff that might be useful to you. And similarly, feel free to share your stuff that you know, see or do with others. So do take advantage of not just this channel, but all prepping channels. There's a wealth of knowledge out there that could be useful in terms of building skills, building knowledge, building awareness of what's going on, and use that information to get yourself a little bit more prepared for what is absolutely coming down the line. In terms of the UK prepping community, it is quite small, though I have noticed this last year, particularly since COVID, there has been a little bit of an uptick in numbers of people who are visiting the channel or who have started their own channels. The number has gone up. We're not quite at the the level of the US or Australia, perhaps. Well, we're definitely not. But there are more people out there who have that kind of awakening experience over COVID and have kind of looked at the world and thought, you know what, it's not quite as stable and as reliable as I thought it was. And certainly the empty shelves on shops has woken a lot of people up to the concept of having a little bit more put away, or perhaps growing your own. So there are people out there. I have no problem with people reaching out to me. People actually do reach out on a regular basis now, by email certainly, to have those kind of conversations and to exchange information and also to exchange a little bit of support. It can be, well, it's not can be, it is quite difficult at times when you're facing those little struggles of trying to achieve your goals. It is easy to be overwhelmed, as I said before. So it's surprising how much that little 1 or 2 lines of text or message of encouragement can be. So if you do know somebody who is having a little bit of a struggle, do give them that little bit of encouragement and support, even if it's just a casual text or a casual 2-minute conversation down the pub, down the shop, at work, wherever it happens to be, because people do have lots of struggles in life, and sometimes they do just need that little bit of a, it's all right, there's plenty of time, don't worry, you'll get there. In terms of support, it's very, very useful and beneficial to have that. Anyway, so I just thought I'd share that little bit of an introduction, so to speak, into the concept of groups. If you browse around YouTube, some of the more hardcore survivalist type prepping channels constantly bang on about support networks and support groups. You'll hear the term MAG, mutual aid group, bandied about in video after video after video. It's not because they're super tactical or military. It's because it is a valid thing. If it all goes horribly wrong and we get to that stage, God forbid, where it is every man for himself, There is no emergency services or government support stepping in, and you are on your own fending for yourself, you'll be surprised how quickly the societal norms and rule of order do break down. There are a lot of people out there in the world that live on taking from others. All you have to do is look at the news reports of how many houses got burgled, or how many cars got stolen, or who got mugged on the way home from work or from the pub, to know that there are a lot of people out there who don't want to do things for themselves or provide for themselves. They take from others. So in a real grid down scenario, they're all going to come out of the woodwork and onto the streets. And if you don't have that group around you to support you, one man or woman on their own cannot do that themselves. You will need that group. So it is worth thinking about, even in a casual way. Build friendships. Be careful how you build your friendships, particularly online, because they're not there in front of you. You're taking on full value whatever their comments or texts are. So do be careful. Do a bit of due diligence, or do a lot of due diligence as you develop those friendships, acquaintances or contacts. But do try and do that. Do have a plan for if it all goes horribly wrong as to who you can reach out to, or who might be wanting to reach out to you to create that little group. Anyway, as usual, my coffee's going cold. The chicken coop needs cleaning out. There's always another job to do. So I'll kind of leave it there, but do let me know in the comment section what you think, what your thoughts are as to how you can reach out to people, what kind of skills you think you might need within a group. Would you move to join a group, or would you have people move to join you in a group? Lots of stuff to think about as you delve into that topic, and hopefully this has acted as a bit of a thought-provoking exercise for you. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do stay safe and well. Do enjoy your weekend, and as usual, do let us know what you think in the comment section below the video. It doesn't just help me, it helps everybody else that looks at the comments. But for now, I'm going to get cracked on with my little jobs, and I'll catch you all in the next video, no doubt. Well, it wouldn't be the weekend without some greenery. And look at this, my little friend. As always, I've got one missing in the nest boxes. Hopefully she's going to come out when she hears all of this ruckus, and then I can get the coop cleaned out without her squawking away and causing chaos in the coop. They do like this greenery, they really do. I do spoil them. Don't I, little red one? Yes. Oh, they're all coming to look now. They're all scared that they're missing out. You watch my fingers, you. Oh God, I've started something now, look. Right, before my fingers go missing, I'm going to get off and try and clean this coop out. Well, the girls are all trying to get back in the coop, but they've had to wait while I clear it all out. So that's looking a lot better now. I just took the water out, I've got to top that up. I think, well, the food's okay actually. So I'll get the water topped up and that'll be a job done. Well, that's it for another day and another weekend. Bit of a grey damp day today. Not an awful lot happening outside. I had hoped to pop another bit of chemical treatment into the beehive, but this rain is just not stopping. it eases off a little bit, then gets a little bit heavier, eases off a little bit, gets a bit heavier, and just keeps repeating. I'm not overly concerned. The first treatment I put in was actually double what you normally put in. So whilst it's not been 4 consecutive weeks, they have had 4 weeks worth of treatment. So hopefully that's okay. They're out and about still. Not as many as usual, but they are out and about, foraging around. So that's good. I'll be tempted to start feeding them soon, I think. If we get a decent bit of weather one weekend, I'll pop the top off the hive and have a little look and just see how they are getting on. And if I think that there's low levels of food in the frames, I don't think there is right now, but I will keep an eye on it. I've got that food in the cabin for them just in case, and I've also been having a little look online to see how you make it yourself. So fingers crossed. It's my first year with the bees. I'm a bit nervous as with everything new, but I'll keep you posted as we go through the rest of the year and let you know how they're getting on.
Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, I welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. What are your thoughts? Is your plan to bug out with your rucksack into the woods and start hunting and foraging? Or have you thought a little bit more in depth about the kind of people that you would need around you to give you that support so that you could farm, protect yourselves and generally take care of each other through whatever crisis might come? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.